All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the Million Dollar Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Dean. You know what, Dean? I didn't even ask you before we hit the record button. I don't know how do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, it's pronounced Guida, Dean Guida.
Guy. Okay. I'm glad that I asked because I was not going to say that. And so Dean Guida. And first of all, before we even get going, Dean, I want to give a shout out to the folks at the podcast guest platform because, especially Jessica, I love Jessica, and that gal, she is just so on top of stuff over there. And even is like for me, being a podcast host and doing this for about 2.5 years now. Jessica's regular reaching out to me going, Kev, here's a couple people that I think you should really consider interviewing for your podcast and stuff. And I love those guys. I so appreciate the work that they're doing because Dean, you and I, we wouldn't even be talking if not for Jessica and the team over at Podcast Guests. So I just want to give those guys a shout out. And I want to start our conversation today by just kind of turning it over to you and letting you share a little bit about, what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work you guys are doing in the world. And we'll just start there and set a little bit of context, Dave.
Sure. Well, I started my company 35 years ago, and when I was 23, and we've never taken any funding, which we're not against funding. We just never have taken any. And
Okay.
we set out to build tools for software developers to build simple and beautiful user interfaces and user experiences. And so we built a whole bunch of frameworks for UI on mobile, desktop, web, for doing data visualization, grids, all the different user interface. And we've since grown. We're in 7 countries now, and we have over 2 million developers using our product. And you probably don't know us, but you've used our product. So a lot of commercial software is built with us, like Intuit's Quicken, TurboTax. We're in every 911 system in America.
Wow.
All the railroads and bullet trains in Japan are all running on our software. And we're really big in the banking industry as well. E-Trade, Schwab, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley all built their client wealth management and trading systems with our tools. So we sell to software teams. Our biggest market is ISVs. We've grown now though, so we have a few other products. We have App Builder, which is a low-code tool to go from design systems and like Figma. These people have design teams into building commercial code. So it's an App Builder low-code tool for professional developers. We have another product called Reveal, which is a BI dashboarding embed engine that we sell to other software companies building out business and SaaS systems.
Okay.
And then we have Slingshot, which is quite interesting. It's a data-driven work management tool that is really focused on making data-driven decisions and following this whole learning scientific method of driving business outcomes and creating agility. So we're focused now on like 4 different product lines, and so that we're quite diverse now. Not so simple for me to explain what we do anymore.
Well, I mean, from what you just shared, 35 years in business, and just even some of the entities that you mentioned, it is apparent that your company is having a pretty big impact on our world for sure. and that was a really good job at setting the context for that, Dean. And so now that we've got, now that people listen have a little bit of an idea of what you guys do and stuff, we'll switch gears a little bit because I want to, and especially with some of the stuff you shared with me before we hit the record button, I'm really excited to dig in deeper. So I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of our listeners. And so, Dean, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships, Dean.
Yeah, so if I could expand it a little bit and talk about
Yeah.
relationships and events, because for
Okay.
me, it's been a lot of events and relationships and events
Okay.
that led to relationships. And so, like when I was like 6 years old, my parents got divorced, moved from New Jersey to Miami, and that event was a really big thing in my event in my life. Where then kind of realized, hey, I have to go out in the world and make my own way and earn my own money. And so early on, I started working. We were renting in an apartment, and I convinced the person, the janitor, to let me do some of his job, clean the pool, sweep the
Mm,
floors, and I started earning money. So early on, that kind of event kind of drove the course of my life. And
mhm,
then there was
mhm,
another kind of a big event when I was in eighth grade. There was a course on entrepreneurs and inventors and how they solved really big problems and impacted the world. And I was so inspired by that. And so I was always like driven, very, I love learning, very driven to
mhm.
solve problems. And even today, 35 years later, I'm really engaged with like solving problems with the team, and just keep learning. But there was another, and so sorry, I'm not getting to relationships. I will,
No,
but
you are totally fine, Dean. You are totally fine.
yeah, there was a book too that really influenced me. It was like in the 1990s, because you remember we started in July of 1989, and
Okay.
we started building software tools on Windows 2.0 really early on. But there was a book from Microsoft Press called Programmers at Work, and it honored all these software architects, all these programmers that single-handedly just created some incredible pieces of software. And I was so inspired how an individual who's really smart and really is passionate about what they're doing could build something that you would think would take a huge team. And that really inspired me. And even to this day, it's amazing how I see our customers and our own team, just what they're able to build. And they don't need to be a unicorn and $1 billion valuation with 100 million in funding. It really comes down to creativity and individuals and ingenuity and curiosity, and like amazing things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are some of the things. Now, I guess one big event also is I met my partner, Don Pruinger. He's retired now, but I used to be a freelance consultant on Wall Street, and I met him down at 99 John Street, and I was on a lot of different teams as a consultant working on different systems at IBM and some big banks. But this team was amazing. Like I was on a team where everyone was so passionate and cared. And so we went on to create Infragistics, and the other people on the team went on to create LogicWorks, Irwin. It used to be a really famous database modeling tool.
Okay.
And so Don and I, that was a pivotal point that Don and I just were very worked closely to start Infragistics, way back in 1989. But those are some of the stories.
Wow. Wow. So if you look, from this time of, when you and Dawn met and you started this company, which was like, 35 years ago now, and what I mean, if I'm trying to figure out the best way to frame this. Um, what is an example of where you personally had an opportunity to where you got to make a big, really big and substantial impact, and that would have never happened if not for the relationship that you had with Dawn.
Well, I think it was just a shared passion around building software. So we we were at Dun and Bradstreet, and we were showing them our software, and they're like, "Oh my god, that software's so amazing! Do you guys have 15 people working on that?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we had 15 people working on that." And they're like, "No way, you didn't build all that software with only 15 people." And meanwhile, it was just me and Don working day and night, So
Really? It was just the
so
two of you.
yeah, and so we, Don was just a very smart, creative person, and we were young, so I come from the generation which I've since learned is not the right way, but it was just like no pain, no gain. Like we would
Uh-huh.
just work all day, all night, and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and and we were always coding and working. Matter of fact, the first year that we were in business, I didn't even work full time. I was consulting at IBM, working on OS2 PM, and Don was coding in his bedroom. And so our first year, and I was coding at night and weekends, and during lunch hour, I was calling the press because we had no money to market, so we were just trying to get PR. And so Don was just a good partner in really focused on just creating great software that solved a lot of people moving and building in the Windows environment, helping them, really rapidly build simple and beautiful applications.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And so much that these guys at Dun& Bradstreet thought you had a team of 15, but yet it was just the two of you, just you guys doing this and creating this software. And so how did things transpire from there? I mean, what was what tell us, I mean, what happened from that meeting with Dun& Bradstreet?
Well, then we probably our a big breakthrough for us was we got Wendy's hamburger restaurant to build a point of sale system with us, which was an enterprise system.
Okay.
And amazingly, they let us use their name and logo. So we had PC Week was like this really popular tech magazine at the time.
I remember that magazine.
Yeah, they put us on the cover. So we were on the cover, the Wendy's logo and our name, and this great software toolkit to build this enterprise application. That really helped us a lot. There was another relationship that early on, like older developers will know this, but Borland Software used to be one of the top developer tools company. Matter of fact, Microsoft didn't even have like a C++ compiler back then. And so Borland was this leading tools company that made Pascal compilers, Turbo C, Turbo C++. And I got really friendly with their development team. And so, meeting at different conferences, and so they asked us to come out to go visit them. They were getting ready to rev their compiler, and they wanted us to come test our framework on their compiler. So there was only like 3 of us in the company, me, Don, and this woman that we hired to answer the phone so that we looked big. And so I asked my girlfriend, who's my wife now, okay, you got to fly out there with me, California, just so that, I'm not, we look bigger. She goes, I'm
Uh-huh.
not going out there. I was like, oh, don't worry about it. There's going to be lots of people there. We'll all just blend in. So we get out there. It's me and my girlfriend. We go into the conference room, and there's like 14 people in there. The guy who created the compiler, the linker, the debugger, the IDE, and just me and my girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, I'm starting to sweat. And I was like, don't even look at me. Don't hold my hand. And, but as it turned out, that also really helped cement the relationship with Borland. My girlfriend or wife, she found actually more problems with the software than I did. And it just all kind of worked out. And from there, Borland licensed a product that we don't have anymore, but it was called Protogen, which generated C, C++, and Pascal code for Windows. And Borland put it in all their compiler boxes, their Pascal, Turbo C++, and they put a flyer in there for us to upsell our other pro version of that product. And that really helped us out tremendously. So that relationship with Borland was like really, really key. And then we had a really great relationship later on with Sun Microsystems, who created Java. This is like early, this is going back in history. And the like first huge conference I ever spoke at, they did a video of me because we were supporting Java and the user interface development on Java. And Scott McNeely kind of interviewed me. I did a video, and then I was up on stage, and it was like the biggest stage I ever spoke in front of. There was like 6,000 people, and like halfway out in the audience, there was 45-foot like projectors, screens to project out to the next, the
Wow.
next set of these of audience. And so there's been relationships like that. And with Microsoft, probably was like one of our best is one of our best relationships.
Okay.
We licensed Microsoft, one of the first, UI components for Visual Basic. The developer tools division just was such a good relationship with us. I mean, it was back when there was diskettes, so like we'd get the new operating system on 45 diskettes, or they'd send us one of the first CD-ROM drives with a CD-ROM. And so we built a lot of software for Microsoft and partner with Microsoft a lot in the 90s and 2000, and even today as well. But that was just another relationships. And it wasn't always one person. It was more a relationship with like the development teams at these
Yeah.
different companies. And so it was always more than one
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. But I'll tell you, that is definitely has been a recurring theme for you guys, hasn't it? It just the relationships with the right people, with the right teams that have just allowed you guys to just really step into, using your guys' unique abilities and being able to serve a whole lot of people as a result of that. And
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. And then there's been like a customer relationships too. Morgan Stanley, they've been an enterprise customer of ours for almost 25 years. And so they've just really have supported our technology, like their Center for Excellence, and all these years have really supported us. So, and it's been multiple people there that we've had different relationships with. And so there's a number of these customers that we just had a fantastic relationship for decades.
Yeah. So, Dean, with where you're at right now, 35 years into being at the helm of this company, and with where we're at right now, what do you see going forward? What's your vision going forward for your company?
Well, like I speak in front of my company at least once a month, and we always talk about like our vision and what we're doing. So like what we want to do is help our customers build simple and beautiful applications. And we're working on now, which is really interesting for our Slingshot, our data-driven work management tool, and Reveal, our embedded BI tool, is conversational analytics. So what we're doing is we're able to, using AI, connect to all of the business systems that a company's using, and then we train the AI on that data and label it and fine tune it, and then within within Slingshot, you can just have a conversation and say, what was our marketing spend last quarter? And then it puts up a beautiful visualization and shows you, okay, which channel delivered the most leads, and then it shows you that. And then you could ask, okay, well, how much money are we spending on content versus these other channels? And so through this conversation, it's providing access to all your business data to inform you and help you make better decisions. And something that we really believe in is this whole experimentation, this whole scientific method of driving business outcomes.
Mhm.
So like once you have access to your data, you get these signals of what's happening in your business. And then from those signals, it never really tells you why something's happening. But then you collaborate with your team and you create a hypothesis of why is this happening? How can we improve that outcome? And then you do an experiment to do that and you learn from that. And so you do this whole, you make data-driven decisions, collaborate with a team on what's going on and why, and then experiment to improve business outcomes. So like we really believe in that whole business model, execution model. And then we're leveraging AI and already our existing technology to help bring that to even more people in a more, user conversational way.
Yeah. Wow. And so, how is AI impacting what you guys do, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, we use AI all throughout our we use and we're building on AI. So we're a global company. We're in 7 countries operating, and if you can imagine, your over time your web properties just get really enormous and huge. And so for you to like convert content from English to Japanese or to Spanish or to Korean, it's a huge cost effort. And so we used to make choices of what to convert, what to do. Well, we use it, that does it all real time for us now. So we're able to
Wow.
write content, leveraging AI that they're doing, and in a real time way, manage like 6 sites on different languages. And that's one way we're using it. And then what I just spoke about too is that we are there's a lot of factors going into AI when you leverage it. One is cost, like you need to do it economically. It's very expensive. 2 is performance. 3 is accuracy. So like when we talk about conversational analytics, it can't hallucinate. It can't be right 93% of the time. It has to be right 100% of the time. So we're doing a lot of like innovative work to get your data across all your silos, because data is locked up in spreadsheets, PowerPoint, different business systems. And so we're leveraging AI to both transform and access this data across all your different data silos, and then automate the training and fine tuning of it so that the end user can then just ask questions around their metrics and KPIs that may span different operational systems.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting work that we're doing now.
Wow.
And the other interesting work we're doing with AI is in our app builder, where we can go from different design patterns, design systems, different vertical type UI workflows, and then go right into generating the app. So we're using different patterns in the user experience, functionality, and vertical markets to help accelerate the app building capabilities of our app builder.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Wow. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, Dean, and I want to, thank you for taking the time to have this conversation, just share with everybody. For anybody that's listening to this, going, man, Kev, I love Dean. I love the way he shows up, and I would imagine that there's going to be some entrepreneurs listening to this, like, man, I want to know more about what Dean and his company they're doing and stuff. So for anybody who's interested, how can they follow up? How can they get some more information on what you guys are doing? Any websites, any resources for them that we can share, Dean?
Yeah, well, I just released a book called "When Grit Is Not Enough: An Entrepreneur's Playbook."
Okay.
And it's called, and so if you go to deanguida.com, you can have links to that book. And so I
Yep.
wrote, it took me a couple of years to write down everything I learned in the last 35 years, and I put it in that book. Another link is for Slingshot, which is our data-driven work management tool, which is slingshotapp.io.
Okay.
For
Yep.
our embedded analytics, if you're a software company and you want to very quickly add analytics, dashboarding, and then soon, when I just talked about conversational analytics, you can go to revealbi.io. And then
Reveal VI.
Reveal, Reveal, Reveal,
Uh-huh.
BI, B as in boy,
VI.io.
right, .io. And
Okay.
then our app builder is appbuilder.dev, DEV, appbuilder.dev.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
our main kind of company website is the company name, infragistics.com.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
so we have a number of web properties, and that answer keeps getting longer. So sorry for that.
That is totally fine, and I'll make sure that we include those with the show notes for the podcast and stuff. I'll make sure we include all that.
Excellent.
And so Dean, any last thing you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
Well, I know that the show is really focused on relationships, and I can just tell you our kind of shared idea around our own culture, which is it's always about the people, always about the team, really creating an environment where people feel comfortable, warm, and welcoming, and practice blameless problem solving and help each other. And so when I talk about like why have we been in business for 35 years and have been able to innovate all these years, it's because of relationships.
Yeah.
It's because of how we interact with each other, and just intentionally trying to nurture that kind of company over the years is kind of the keys to our success.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know, kind of a more generic answer to your relationship, but it's so important.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Absolutely. Well, Dean, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation and just share from your experience and share from your heart. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to get this interview out there and share it with a whole lot of other entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs because I know how valuable that's going to be. So thank you so much, Dean. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it.